Carl Jung reveals the real reason you struggle with self-sabotage. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung's timeless words strike at the heart of self-sabotage. Have you ever found yourself repeating the same mistakes, even when you know better? You're not alone, and the reason may lie deep within your unconscious mind. In this video, we'll uncover the real cause of self-sabotage through the lens of Jungian psychology and spiritual wisdom. What patterns are secretly shaping your life, and how can you break free from them to unlock your highest potential? Comment below with your thoughts or experiences on self-sabotage, and let's grow together. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. 1. What is self-sabotage and why we do it? Self-sabotage is not a flaw in your character, nor is it simple procrastination or laziness. It's a pattern deeply rooted in the unconscious mind, one that Carl Jung believed arises from a misguided attempt at self-protection. When you begin to step outside your comfort zone, take risks, or approach real transformation, your psyche often pulls you back. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it has learned through past pain or conditioning that safety means staying small, predictable, and unseen. These behaviors show up in subtle yet powerful ways. You delay sending that important email. You pick a fight with someone you care about. You binge eat or overspend right after making progress toward your goals. And just when life begins to open up for you, that inner voice whispers, "You're not ready. You don't deserve this. Something will go wrong." It's not logic. It's fear disguised as logic. It's not your truth. It's the echo of wounds that haven't been healed. Carl Jung taught that unless we bring these unconscious patterns into conscious awareness, they will rule our lives. We will act out scripts we didn't write and wonder why we feel stuck. The shadow, the part of the psyche that contains all we reject or repress, becomes the puppeteer, and we play the role of saboteur without even realizing it. But the moment you shine light on these hidden parts, they lose their power to control you. Consider someone on the verge of real change. They've been offered a dream job, a beautiful relationship, or a creative breakthrough. Instead of stepping forward, they freeze. They doubt. They retreat. On the surface, it looks like hesitation. But deep down, it's the unconscious saying, "This is unknown." And unknown means unsafe. Even success can trigger sabotage if deep inside, you associate visibility or growth with pain. The unconscious mind isn't evil. It's ancient. It holds every memory, every emotional imprint, every protective mechanism you've ever needed to survive. But what once protected you may now be holding you back. The key is not to fight against it, but to understand it. When you stop judging your behavior and start asking, "What part of me is trying to be heard right now?" you begin to reclaim control. Self-sabotage fades when self-awareness rises. When you notice the pattern, question the fear, and offer yourself compassion, something powerful shifts. You no longer act out old wounds you start creating from truth. The journey requires courage, because facing your shadow means confronting pain. But it also brings clarity, strength, and the freedom to live as your whole self. Carl Jung believed true transformation is not about becoming someone else. It's about integrating all that you are. And when you embrace the part of you that's been scared to grow, you no longer need to sabotage your own joy. You become the conscious creator of your path. no longer held hostage by an invisible past. Have you ever caught yourself holding back right before something amazing could happen? If so, share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone else recognize their own patterns. If not, comment, "I'm ready to break free, to commit to overcoming self-sabotage together." Let's support each other on this path to healing and growth. 2. Carl Jung's insight, the shadow. Carl Jung believed that the real reason we struggle with self-sabotage lies in the part of us called the shadow, a hidden aspect of our psyche made up of all the emotions, impulses, and traits we were told to reject as children. Maybe you were told not to cry, not to be angry, or not to be too loud or bold. Slowly, to fit in, to be accepted, you began suppressing those parts of yourself. But those parts didn't disappear. They simply sank into the unconscious, quietly shaping your behavior from the shadows. This shadow is not just a collection of negative traits. It's where your disowned brilliance lives. The passions you silenced, the confidence you buried, the creativity you tucked away because someone once said it was too much. Jung called this the gold in the dark, meaning the very parts of you you've rejected may be the most powerful. What you've locked away for years in shame or fear is also where your vitality and greatness are hiding. But if the shadow is ignored, it doesn't stay quiet. It starts showing up in self-sabotage. You delay a big project until the last moment. You push away people who love you. You reject good opportunities because you're secretly afraid of success. These aren't signs that you're broken. They are messages from your unconscious, your shadow saying, "See me." The more you suppress it, the more it controls you from behind the curtain. That's why Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think about a moment when you felt you ruined something good. A relationship, a job, a chance to speak up. Most likely, it wasn't your conscious self that wanted to destroy it. It was a hidden belief that said, "You don't deserve this," or "You'll be abandoned if you succeed." These beliefs were born in your earliest years and became part of your inner script. The shadow doesn't destroy because it's evil. It disrupts because it's been exiled for too long. It's trying to come home. Healing doesn't mean deleting your shadow. It means sitting with it, listening, and welcoming it back into the light. The parts of you you've spent years avoiding, your anger, your fear, your shame, become less frightening when you look at them directly. And in doing so, they transform. Your anger becomes your boundary. Your fear becomes your discernment. Your shame becomes your compassion. That is spiritual wisdom in action, not running from the dark, but learning how to dance with it. Jung taught that real transformation comes not by pretending to be perfect, but by becoming whole. That means embracing both your light and your dark, your known self and your forgotten self. When you integrate the shadow, you stop fighting against yourself. You begin to move with clarity, power, and purpose, no longer ruled by hidden fears, but guided by deep self-awareness. The shadow loses its grip, not when you destroy it, but when you listen to it. And in listening, you reclaim your truth. Are you ready to face your shadow and reclaim your hidden power? If so, comment below. I embrace my shadow, to show your commitment to healing and self-discovery. 3. Early childhood conditioning and complexes. From early childhood, we are taught, often indirectly, which parts of ourselves are welcome and which are not. You may have been praised for being obedient, quiet, or helpful, and in turn, you learn to suppress anything that didn't earn approval. Anger, fear, sadness, even curiosity. Over time, these rejected parts don't disappear. They become buried in the unconscious, forming emotional clusters known as complexes. Carl Jung described complexes as the hidden patterns that run your life when you're not aware of them. They show up as the inner critic that whispers you're never good enough, or the fear of abandonment that keeps you clinging to the wrong people. They are not logical, and they don't care about your adult reasoning. They are emotional echoes from childhood, seeking resolution. This is why so many of us find ourselves stuck in painful cycles, repeating the same types of relationships, the same sabotaging behaviors, or the same failures just as we're on the edge of success. Jung called this repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to recreate early wounds in hopes of finally healing them. If, for instance, your emotional needs were ignored as a child, you might keep finding yourself in situations where you feel invisible, not because you want to suffer, but because your psyche is still trying to solve an old problem. It's an emotional loop, disguised as fate, but truly born of unmet needs that have never been consciously addressed. These patterns are often mistaken for personality traits. You might say, "I just have trust issues," or "I'm afraid of commitment." But beneath those surface beliefs lies something far more significant. Your forgotten self, exiled long ago, still calling out to be acknowledged. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Spiritual awakening begins the moment you stop identifying with the story you've been repeating and begin to ask, what part of me is trying to speak through this pain? What makes this process transformative is not just self-awareness, but self-compassion. You cannot fight your way out of these patterns by force. You must meet them with understanding, like a parent soothing a frightened child. The fear, the jealousy, the shame, they are not enemies. They are messengers. And when you listen, truly listen, the patterns begin to soften. The grip loosens. You remember that you are more than your conditioning. You are not broken. You are incomplete, waiting to be made whole through the very wounds you've been taught to hide. Spiritual awakening, then, is not a moment of escape. It is a return to what has always been yours. Your right to feel fully, to live authentically, to act not from survival, but from sovereignty. The healing does not lie in avoiding the shadow, but in integrating it. And in doing so, self-sabotage becomes self-understanding, and pain becomes the path to freedom. If this message spoke to you, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss content that helps you heal, grow, and thrive. Type in the comments, "I am healing my inner child," to affirm your journey toward emotional freedom and self-love. 4. The Paradox of Sabotage. It's a protective mechanism. Self-sabotage is not simply a personal flaw or weakness. It's often your psyche's quiet way of protecting you from something deeper. According to Carl Jung, many of the behaviors you label as self-defeating are actually subconscious attempts to maintain inner balance. This process is rooted in what Jung called enantiodromia, the tendency of the psyche to swing in the opposite direction when one extreme is overemphasized. When you overwork, overachieve, or suppress certain emotions, your unconscious reacts by pulling you back. not to harm you, but to protect your sense of wholeness. This reaction can take many forms: burnout, procrastination, emotional outbursts, or even physical illness. It's not sabotage in the way we usually understand it. It's more like your soul sounding the alarm. You may think you're breaking down, when in truth, you're being asked to slow down. You may interpret failure as weakness, when it might actually be an act of inner survival. Your unconscious is trying to bring balance where your conscious mind is chasing extremes. Take the example of a high-achieving entrepreneur who pushes themselves endlessly, feeding their identity on productivity. Their schedule is packed, their phone never silent, and their to-do list never ends. Eventually, they begin missing meetings, losing focus, or making avoidable mistakes. They beat themselves up for not being stronger. But what if those mistakes are actually messages? What if their psyche is creating friction to slow them down, to make them reconsider their priorities, or to restore a neglected emotional life? This is where Carl Jung's insights become essential. He didn't see the unconscious as a dumping ground for unwanted impulses. He saw it as a source of profound wisdom. When the ego is inflated or disconnected from the soul, the unconscious activates compensatory forces. That's why Jung said, the unconscious wants to flow into consciousness and be integrated. The very behaviors you consider destructive may be signs of that deeper movement. A modern example can be seen in someone who, after years of climbing the corporate ladder, starts feeling inexplicably lost or irritable. They begin turning down promotions, withdrawing from colleagues, or doubting their own abilities. From the outside, it may look like they're sabotaging their success, but inside, their true self is pushing against a life that no longer fits. They're not breaking, they're awakening. Their soul is rejecting a life that lacks authenticity. Self-sabotage, in this case, becomes a gateway to spiritual awakening. You must begin to ask, what part of me is tired of pretending? What truth have I buried under ambition or fear? What emotional wound have I ignored for too long? Self-sabotage often emerges when your inner and outer lives are no longer aligned. It's the signal flare of a soul in conflict. By observing it with compassion instead of shame, you allow deeper truths to surface. Carl Jung's teachings remind us that the psyche always seeks integration. When you suppress your needs, neglect your emotions, or chase goals that don't align with your inner truth, your unconscious resists not to punish you, but to pull you back into wholeness. That resistance may look like sabotage, but in reality, it's a sacred form of self-correction. By turning toward it and listening closely, you may uncover the very wisdom you've been searching for. If you're ready to embrace the deeper wisdom behind your patterns, comment below. I honor the balance within. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss more powerful insights like this. 5. Shadow work and individuation. Jung believed that the key to becoming a whole and authentic self lies not in perfection, but in integration. The parts of us we try to hide our anger, our shame, our fears don't disappear. They form what he called the shadow, a hidden realm of the unconscious where all our repressed emotions and denied traits live. Most people spend their lives trying to outrun their shadow, wearing masks to appear strong, good, or acceptable. But in doing so, they create internal division. The more we deny the shadow, the more power it gains. It shows up in self-sabotage, broken relationships, repeated patterns, and quiet suffering. True transformation begins when we stop suppressing these darker parts of ourselves and instead begin to meet them with compassion. To grow spiritually and emotionally, we must face what we've rejected within us, not with judgment, but with honesty and gentleness. That's where real strength lies, in turning toward our pain rather than away from it. This is the heart of spiritual wisdom, knowing that what you resist persists, but what you embrace, you can transform. When you listen to the voice beneath your anger or sadness, you'll often find an old wound still bleeding, still waiting to be seen. Healing is not about removing the pain, but allowing it to be heard, to breathe, to guide you back to your true self. The shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Every trigger, every overreaction, every insecurity is a doorway into deeper self-understanding. And yet, resistance to this work is natural. It's easier to blame external circumstances than to admit that some part of you is afraid of who you might become. As Jung once pointed out, many people fear their own potential more than they fear failure. Why? Because stepping into your highest self means letting go of everything you've built your identity around. The need to be liked, the fear of judgment, the belief that you're not enough. It means breaking free from the familiar discomfort of old stories and rewriting your narrative from a place of conscious choice. Individuation is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself. But that return requires courage. It means asking difficult questions and sitting with uncomfortable answers. It asks you to welcome not only your light, but your darkness. To understand that you are both. To realize that spiritual wisdom doesn't ask you to become perfect, it asks you to become real. And to be real, you must be whole. Whole means you have accepted your flaws, your rage, your tenderness, your power, all as sacred aspects of your human experience. This inner work is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong dialogue with your soul. But each time you choose awareness over avoidance, truth over illusion, wholeness over image, you take one step closer to freedom. Not the freedom that comes from escaping who you are, but the freedom that comes from embracing who you've always been. The shadow doesn't disappear. It becomes integrated. And when it does, it no longer controls you from the dark. It empowers you from within. Comment below. I choose to face my shadow, if you're ready to embrace your whole self with courage and compassion. Let this be your first step toward true inner transformation and individuation. 6. Tools for shadow integration. Recurring dreams are not just random flickers of the mind. They are messengers from the unconscious, trying to break through the noise of everyday life. When certain themes appear again and again in your sleep, like being chased, losing control, or returning to the same place, it often signals a conflict buried deep within. These dreams are the voice of the shadow, calling for your attention. Keeping a journal beside your bed and writing down the emotions, symbols, and patterns that emerge can help you trace the roots of unresolved feelings or inner divides. Each dream is a riddle, one that reveals the parts of yourself you've long avoided. But some truths can't be unraveled with logic alone. That's where active imagination becomes essential. This is a process of inner dialogue, a conscious encounter with the unconscious. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize the part of you that feels angry, afraid, or ashamed. Ask it what it wants. Ask it what it's afraid of. Let it speak. This isn't about inventing answers. It's about surrendering to the unknown inside you. The shadow is often desperate to be heard, and when you give it a voice, it starts to lose its power to sabotage you from behind the scenes. Expression, not suppression, is the path forward. That's why creative expression is such a powerful tool in shadow integration. When you write freely, paint spontaneously, or let your body move without control, something ancient wakes up inside you. You may find tears you didn't know were waiting, or stories from childhood rising like waves. This process is not about perfection. It's about honesty. Art bypasses the ego and speaks for the soul. And in that space, the shadow doesn't feel judged. It feels accepted. Carl Jung once said, "Art is a kind of innate drive that seizes a human being and makes him its instrument." When you create without filtering, you become a vessel for healing. To integrate the shadow fully, you must also develop a fierce commitment to self-reflection. Notice your emotional triggers. What makes you irrationally angry or uncomfortable? Who makes you feel envious, small, or deeply annoyed? These reactions are mirrors. Often, what we most reject in others is what we refuse to face within ourselves. The qualities you judge, neediness, arrogance, selfishness, are usually unacknowledged parts of your own psyche seeking reintegration. Every judgment is a doorway. Every irritation is an invitation. When you trace these emotional responses back to their source, you discover the blueprint of your shadow. This inner work is not easy, but it is the birthplace of spiritual awakening. When you begin to recognize the silent forces that have shaped your life, your patterns, your wounds, your fears, you stop reacting unconsciously. You reclaim your power. You stop being ruled by inner saboteurs and start living from a place of clarity and wholeness. Integration isn't about erasing your darkness. It's about making peace with it. Because only when the light meets the shadow can you truly awaken. If this message has resonated with your journey of self-discovery, comment below. I welcome my shadow with compassion and courage. Your healing begins the moment you stop running from yourself. Let's walk this path of inner integration together. 7. Psychological maturity is integration, not perfection. Psychological maturity isn't about striving for perfection. It's about embracing integration. To grow, you don't need to erase your flaws or pretend they don't exist. Real growth comes from being able to hold both your strength and your vulnerability, your confidence and your uncertainty, your light and your shadow. Carl Jung taught that the path to becoming a whole person, what he called individuation, requires you to face and integrate the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide or suppress. These aren't weaknesses to overcome, but keys to your inner truth. In a world obsessed with performance, self-optimization, and external success, it's easy to fall into the trap of appearing perfect while internally falling apart. Maya, a successful young woman, is a modern example. She had everything: a well-paying job, polished appearance, and a thriving online presence. But behind the scenes, she sabotaged her relationships, avoided intimacy, and felt chronically empty. It wasn't until she explored the parts of herself she had buried old wounds, unprocessed anger, and deep fears that she realized the cause of her pain. Like many of us, she wasn't broken. She was just divided. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The unconscious isn't just some distant realm. It's alive in your reactions, your triggers, your patterns, and especially your self-sabotage. The shadow, those unwanted emotions and traits you try to push away, gains more power the more you avoid it. But when you stop running and finally turn toward it, something powerful happens. It loses its grip. You begin to reclaim your energy and your clarity. Every hero must walk into the darkness before they rise. The shadow is not an obstacle to your path. It is the path. And just like in every myth or movie, the true transformation comes not from conquering the monster, but from recognizing that the monster was a part of you all along. Growth, then, is not about constant positivity or spiritual bypassing. It's about truth. It's about facing the discomfort and staying with it long enough for it to teach you something real. Integration is not a finish line. It's a practice. It means catching yourself when you're projecting your wounds onto others. It means staying curious about your own reactions instead of immediately judging them. It means forgiving yourself for not being perfect and choosing to show up with honesty instead. As you do this, the different parts of you, your fear, your ambition, your tenderness, your rage, begin to move from conflict into conversation. That's where true power begins. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom shows us that we don't need to become someone else. We need to return to ourselves fully and unapologetically. The pieces we once called broken are actually sacred. And the maturity we long for isn't about being flawless. It's about being whole. To affirm your commitment to true growth, not perfection, declare it today. Comment below. I choose integration to honor your path toward authenticity and inspire others to embrace their whole selves, shadow and all. Remember, self-sabotage isn't just a flaw in your willpower. It's often a deeper signal from the unconscious, asking you to heal, grow, and realign with your true self. As Carl Jung reminds us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If today's message spoke to something hidden within you, don't let it fade away. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new step on your journey toward transformation. Carl Jung. When the energy of two souls aligns, no force can keep them apart. What you are seeking is seeking you. Rumi. Have you ever felt an unexplainable connection with someone like your soul remembered theirs long before you ever met? In today's video on Spiritual Wisdom, we explore Carl Jung's profound insight into what happens when the energy of two souls aligns. This isn't just about romance. It's about spiritual resonance, destiny, and energy frequencies that defy logic. As you watch, think about the people who've entered your life with a powerful sense of familiarity. Could it be synchronicity at work? Comment below. I believe in soul alignment if you've ever felt this kind of connection. And don't forget to like and share this video to spread the energy of conscious love and growth. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Synchronicity. The soul's timing is never wrong. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, not a coincidence, but a meaningful alignment of events that reflects the deeper intelligence of the universe. When two people meet and instantly feel as though their souls recognize each other, it's not luck, it's energetic resonance. These rare moments happen because both individuals are vibrating at the same frequency. Something in each of them is open, ready, and aligned, and the result is a connection that feels timeless. It's not about falling in love with the other person. What draws you in is the version of yourself that begins to awaken in their presence. You feel more alive, more seen, more whole. Suddenly, parts of you that were numb or hidden start to rise to the surface. Around them, you laugh louder, dream bigger, and trust deeper, not because they've completed you, but because they've reminded you of who you really are. Their energy doesn't fix you. It mirrors the parts of you that are ready to be claimed. But not all soul-deep connections are meant to last. Some come into your life not to stay, but to serve a higher purpose, to awaken. These are the connections that burn bright and fast, then leave just as quickly. They aren't meant to walk with you forever. They're meant to open a door inside you. That opening may be joyful or painful. It may leave you glowing or grieving. But one thing is certain: you'll never be the same. A woman once shared how she met someone during the loneliest season of her life. They spoke for hours the first time they met, as if picking up a conversation that had never ended. He encouraged her to write again, to pursue a passion she had buried for years. Within weeks, she felt alive in ways she had forgotten. And just as quickly as he had appeared, he was gone. No goodbye, no closure. But she didn't collapse, she created. He didn't complete her, he activated her. This is the wisdom Carl Jung taught us. Synchronicity serves the soul, not the ego. When someone enters your life with that kind of force, don't always assume they're meant to stay. Sometimes, their only role is to deliver a message your soul has been waiting to receive. Sometimes, they are the mirror, not the destination. When you try to hold on to what was only meant to awaken, suffering follows. But when you honor the timing, when you accept the gift without needing to possess the giver, you rise, you evolve, you become. These sacred encounters remind you that the universe doesn't make mistakes. Every soul that meets you at that level is part of your unfolding. The bond was real, the timing was divine, and the transformation, it was always the point. Have you ever felt a soul connection that shook you to your core? If so, share your story in the comments below. Your experience could help someone else understand theirs. If not, comment, "I trust divine timing," to affirm your belief in the soul's perfect path. Chapter 2. You attract what you haven't healed. We repeat painful patterns in love not because we're cursed, but because we haven't healed. Every relationship that breaks us, confuses us, or drains us is not just a coincidence, it's a mirror. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are, beneath your desires and dreams, often includes your unhealed wounds. These wounds have energy, and that energy calls in people who match it. So, if you're attracting betrayal, abandonment, or emotional distance, ask yourself, what part of you is still carrying that story? Relationships are sacred teachers. They aren't just about joy, but transformation. The people who trigger your deepest pain are often the ones sent to show you where the healing needs to happen. That doesn't mean you're meant to stay in pain. It means the pain is trying to wake you up. Painful love is not punishment. It's a spiritual classroom. And until you sit with yourself in full honesty, you'll keep meeting the same kind of lesson in a different disguise. That's not fate, it's feedback. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that nothing changes outside, until something shifts inside. If you continue to ignore your emotional wounds, your heart will keep echoing the same request through the people you attract. See me, heal me, choose differently. But when you begin to choose differently, everything around you responds. You stop settling. You stop chasing. You begin magnetizing people who reflect the wholeness you've earned through inner work. Healing isn't glamorous. It requires brutal honesty, courage, and accountability. It's not about changing them. It's about transforming the energy within you that allowed them in the first place. When you clean the lens through which you see yourself, you also shift the lens through which you see love. And when two healed souls meet, the connection feels different. It's not chaotic, anxious, or heavy. It feels safe, peaceful, grounded. You don't have to prove your worth, decode mixed signals, or lose yourself to be loved. Until then, if you're attracting pain, consider that it's not the universe punishing you. It's the universe trying to show you your power. When you stop asking, "Why do they hurt me?" and start asking, "Why did I allow it?" you step into alignment. You reclaim your energy. You learn the lesson. And from that point on, what you attract begins to reflect not your wounds, but your wisdom. That is spiritual wisdom in action, healing yourself so deeply that nothing and no one outside of you can shake the peace within. Are you ready to break the cycle and heal from within? If so, comment below. I choose to heal, to affirm your commitment to growth and self-awareness. Chapter 3. Not all soulmates. Stay. Some soul connections are not meant to last. They are meant to awaken. You may meet someone and feel like you've known them forever, like fate placed them in your path with divine timing. The bond is undeniable, the energy intense, the synchronicity too precise to be mere coincidence. But not every connection that feels deep is meant to stay. Some people come into your life not to build with you, but to break something within you, something that needed to be broken. These souls appear when you're asleep inside, not physically, but spiritually. They show up to shatter illusions you've clung to disrupt emotional patterns you've been stuck in. They trigger you in ways that force self-reflection. The pain they bring isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But these karmic disruptors won't let you avoid it. Their presence makes hiding from yourself impossible." Many people confuse emotional intensity with destiny. You feel fireworks, cosmic pull, passion that borders on obsession, and you think, "This must be the one." But that energy isn't always meant for forever. It's meant to awaken. These people aren't life partners. They are soul shakers. They mirror what's broken, magnify what's buried, and awaken what's dormant. And when they leave, it feels like a piece of you is torn out. But what's really happening is a part of you is being revealed. And here's the lesson the universe keeps whispering. If you don't learn what you're meant to from that soul, the cycle repeats. A new person, the same pattern, over and over, until awareness breaks the loop. That's how spiritual awakening works, not through comfort, but through confrontation. The universe doesn't send these souls to punish you. It sends them because your spirit is ready to grow. Every connection has a purpose, even the painful ones. The more it hurts, the deeper the lesson. And sometimes, the ones who leave the biggest mark are the ones who were never supposed to stay. You grow not despite their absence, but because of it. You learn to stop chasing what hurts and start honoring what heals. You begin to differentiate between intensity and alignment, between passion and peace. The soul who is meant to stay will not come to test your worth. They will come after you've remembered it. They will not ignite chaos in your heart. They will meet you in its stillness. That is the beauty of spiritual wisdom. It teaches us that some love stories are meant to be short chapters, not lifelong novels. But even the shortest story can awaken the deepest truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the gift these soul awakeners leave behind: clarity, growth, and a deeper connection to yourself than ever before. If you're ready to release illusions and embrace the truth your soul is calling for, comment below. I accept the lesson. Let this be your signal to the universe that you're no longer holding on to what's meant to pass, but open to what's meant to grow you. Chapter 4. Love begins with wholeness, not hunger. You cannot build lasting love from a place of emptiness. When your soul is hungry, you don't seek love, you seek relief. But relief is not love. It's escape. And anything rooted in escape quickly turns into addiction, not connection. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." If the unconscious part of you believes you are incomplete, you will be drawn to others who confirm that belief. You'll confuse intensity with intimacy, chaos with chemistry, and suffering with significance. Love that begins with need always carries the seed of fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of losing the person who seems to hold the missing piece of your soul. But here's the truth: no one can complete what you refuse to become. When you are not whole within yourself, you will settle for emotional highs, temporary validation, and surface-level attachment. You'll chase people who stimulate your wounds, not your growth. You'll keep reliving emotional patterns that leave you exhausted and disillusioned. But when you are whole, everything changes. Wholeness is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about knowing who you are and what you need without losing yourself in someone else's energy. When your inner world is rooted in peace, you no longer crave the drama of unstable love. You no longer find yourself addicted to passion that comes with pain. Instead, you attract a different kind of connection, a love that is steady, honest, and deeply spiritual. This is what Carl Jung meant by individuation. True love can only exist between two individuals who have faced their own darkness, who have integrated their shadows, and who no longer demand from another what they have not given themselves. When two souls like this meet, the connection is not explosive, it is expansive. There's no power struggle, no manipulation, no desperation. There's simply presence. There's resonance. There's truth. You begin to realize that real love doesn't rush. It doesn't need constant reassurance. It's not built on games or emotional instability. It's built on mutual respect, emotional awareness, and a shared spiritual vibration. The more you become your authentic self, the more you naturally repel what is not aligned and magnetize what mirrors your evolution. There was once a woman who kept falling for unavailable men. Each time, she mistook the intensity for meaning, the uncertainty for mystery. And each time, she ended up shattered. But the pattern only broke when she stopped chasing. She chose to sit with herself, heal her emotional hunger, and rebuild her inner foundation. Months later, love found her not in the form of fireworks, but in the quiet safety of someone who didn't trigger her fears, but honored her peace. And for the first time, she realized that love could be soft, strong, and secure all at once. When love no longer feels like survival, you know you've grown. When love becomes a place of rest, not rescue, you've healed. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches that the energy we carry becomes the compass for the relationships we attract. When your energy is scattered, love becomes pursuit. But when your energy is whole, love becomes presence. You don't fall, you rise. You don't beg, you receive. You don't lose yourself. You meet someone who helps you remember more of who you are. And that is the love no force can take from you, because it's not built from longing, but from light. Stay connected with our community of healing and growth by subscribing to our channel. Here, we explore the power of self-love, emotional wholeness, and conscious relationships. Remember, real love begins when you no longer seek someone to complete you, because you are already whole. Chapter 5. The Illusion of Forever. Not all love is meant to last forever, and that doesn't make it any less sacred. The idea that true love must be eternal is a beautiful illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. Some people enter your life not to stay, but to awaken something dormant within you. They are not mistakes. They are messengers. They arrive with purpose, and when that purpose is fulfilled, they move on. Their exit doesn't invalidate the depth of your bond. In fact, it confirms it. Because the most powerful connections are not always measured by duration, but by transformation. There are souls that vibrate in harmony with yours only for a season. During that time, it feels like fate. The connection is magnetic. Conversations feel like home. Silences are healing, not heavy. You see yourself reflected in their eyes. Carl Jung called this synchronicity the alignment of two inner worlds, colliding not by chance, but by energetic design. But synchronicity is not the same as permanence. A soul-aligned connection can still be temporary, and yet be the most spiritually profound experience of your life. As you grow, you will notice some relationships naturally fade. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not losing anything. You're evolving. And evolution always creates distance between the old and the new. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that when something ends, it doesn't mean it failed. It means the contract between your soul and theirs has been fulfilled. You've exchanged the lessons you were meant to give one another. Holding on beyond that point only causes friction, because growth demands space. The ache we often feel is not because they left. It's because we resist who we're becoming in their absence. We cling to the memory, the feeling, the identity we had when they were close. But the truth is, their departure is part of your awakening. Their absence creates space for a deeper version of you to emerge. What feels like heartbreak is often just the sound of your old self breaking apart, so your true self can rise. That's not loss, that's liberation. So, when someone you love deeply no longer walks beside you, don't ask why they're gone. Ask what they stirred awake inside you. Ask how they helped you see yourself more clearly. Ask how you can now walk forward with the wisdom they helped unlock. Because the end of the relationship isn't the end of the connection. The energy exchanged continues to live in your spirit, shaping you, guiding you, expanding you. Love doesn't need to last forever to be real. Some souls come to shake you, to teach you, to remind you of your worth, and then to leave. That is their gift. And your growth is the proof that the connection was never in vain. Let them go in gratitude. Let yourself rise in power. Because the illusion of forever may fade, but the spiritual wisdom it leaves behind is eternal. If this message speaks to your heart, take a moment to ground it in your spirit. Repeat after me. I release what's not meant to stay. I honor the love, and I trust my growth. If this resonates with you, type it in the comments and let the healing begin. Chapter 6. The Mirror Never Lies. Relationships are not random. They are mirrors, reflecting back the parts of yourself that you often cannot see. When someone triggers you, it's rarely about what they said or did. It's about what their energy awakens in you. That discomfort, that sting of rejection, or the rise of anger, it's your soul's way of pointing to a wound still waiting to be healed. As Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This is the essence of spiritual awakening. Understanding that others don't cause your pain, they reveal it. You might believe the solution lies in changing others. If only they would listen, love better, be kinder, be more available. But here's the deeper truth. The lesson is not about them, it's about you. Every emotional reaction is a signal, not an excuse. The people who push your buttons are showing you exactly where your inner work begins. You don't need to fight the mirror or cover it up. You need to look into it with honesty, with courage, with compassion for yourself. Until you do, life will continue sending you the same mirror in a different form. You'll attract the same kind of partner, experience the same heartbreak, feel the same emptiness over and over again. Why? Because your soul is trying to get your attention. The universe is patient, but persistent. It will keep repeating the lesson until you fully receive it. That's why running away or cutting people off is not always healing. It's often just delay. True growth begins when you stop pointing outward and start asking, what am I still carrying inside? This is where spiritual wisdom meets responsibility. Healing is not about protecting yourself from pain. It's about understanding why that pain lives inside you in the first place. Maybe it's an old story from childhood. Maybe it's a limiting belief that says, I'm not lovable, or I must earn love. These beliefs operate beneath your awareness, shaping your relationships, your reactions, your entire emotional reality. But when you become aware of them, everything changes. That awareness is the birth of transformation. The moment you begin healing those unconscious wounds, your relationships begin to shift. You stop attracting the same painful patterns. You stop mistaking intensity for love. You begin choosing from self-respect, not fear. You stop chasing people who mirror your insecurities and start connecting with those who reflect your growth. The mirror doesn't just reveal your brokenness, it can also reflect your light. Spiritual awakening is not about perfection. It's about becoming so self-aware that you no longer fear the truth reflected back at you. You embrace it. You use it. You grow through it. Because the mirror never lies. It doesn't flatter or soften, but it does offer you a chance to see clearly, and in that clarity, to choose something new. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom that helps you see the truth within. Relationships aren't random. They reflect what's ready to be healed. Let's grow through the mirror, not run from it. Chapter 7. When two whole souls meet. When two souls come together from a place of healing and inner wholeness, the energy between them is completely different from the frantic, wounded patterns so many mistake for love. There's no chasing, no confusion, no emotional games, just a quiet knowing, a calm presence. You don't feel like you're being pulled or pushed. You feel safe. This connection doesn't erupt like fireworks. It settles like peace. That's when you know you're meeting someone not from your trauma, but from your truth. Carl Jung's teachings remind us that true love only begins when the individual has become whole within themselves. He believed that individuation, the integration of all parts of the psyche, was essential to inner peace. And when that work is done, the kind of love you attract is not about fixing or saving each other. It's about mutual recognition, respect, and resonance. Two people who've done the inner work don't need each other to survive. They choose each other to thrive. They don't seek to complete each other. They reflect and amplify each other's strength. This kind of love isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention or validation. It flows with ease, rooted in emotional clarity and spiritual alignment. Both people honor each other's freedom, while simultaneously nurturing the bond. They hold space for each other's growth, not out of obligation, but out of shared purpose. Because when your soul meets another who has walked through their own shadows and come out in the light, there's a silent understanding that goes beyond words. You see yourself in them, and they see their evolution in you. You might recall the times when love felt like survival, when every argument felt like a test, when silence meant punishment, and when passion came with pain. That's not love born of wholeness. That's trauma, calling out to trauma. But healing rewires the heart. You begin to crave peace over chaos, stability over intensity, and truth over illusion. You no longer find yourself drawn to people who trigger your insecurity. You find yourself gravitating toward those who mirror your calm, your growth, your groundedness. A modern example of this is seen in the story of two people who met not during the chaos of their early years, but after years of solitude, self-reflection, and spiritual growth. They had built lives that were full, but not crowded. When they met, it wasn't explosive, it was steady. It wasn't overwhelming, it was safe. And as they grew together, they didn't try to change each other. They supported each other's evolution side by side. That is what Carl Jung meant by a transformational connection. One that doesn't ignite your fears, but expands your essence. Two whole souls meeting creates a different kind of energy. It's not about dependency, but expansion. Not about losing yourself in another, but being seen in your full light. It is the highest form of spiritual wisdom and love, where presence replaces performance, alignment replaces attachment, and truth becomes the foundation of everything. In this space, love becomes not something you fall into, but something you rise within. And in rising together, you don't just experience love, you become it. To affirm your journey toward true, aligned love, declare your readiness. Comment below, "I attract love from wholeness," and inspire others to rise in healing, peace, and truth. And if this message resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual wisdom. Chapter 8. The Carl Jung Challenge. Become, don't search. Stop searching for someone to complete you and begin becoming the person you're meant to be. This is not about waiting, longing, or trying to fill the silence with distractions. It's about transformation from within. When you chase someone to heal your loneliness, you hand them the responsibility for your happiness, and in doing so, you abandon your own power. The journey isn't about finding someone to carry your wounds. It's about healing yourself so deeply that your energy naturally aligns with the kind of love you deserve. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." That awakening begins the moment you stop romanticizing the idea that someone else will rescue you and realize that you are already whole. Looking inward is not a passive act. It is the most courageous thing you can do. It means being honest about your patterns, your pain, and your fears. It means doing the inner work to clear emotional debris, rewire limiting beliefs, and raise your vibration to match the energy of the life you claim to want. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you are. So if you desire deep, sacred love, you must first become emotionally available to yourself. If you want peace, then chaos must no longer feel familiar or acceptable. Becoming is about frequency. It's energetic alignment. People don't show up by accident. They show up because your energy called them in. Every connection is a mirror reflecting the state of your inner world. When you begin to radiate truth, wholeness, and self-respect, only those who see and value those qualities will find their way to you. Spiritual wisdom teaches that everything is vibration. When you evolve beyond survival-based attachment, you step into conscious magnetism. You stop reaching. You start receiving. And what you receive reflects the version of you you've chosen to embody. The love you want isn't lost. It's waiting for you on the other side of your transformation. It doesn't arrive by force or timeline. It arrives by resonance. This is the real challenge. Stop running after connection and start cultivating the one within. Become so rooted in your truth that anyone not aligned with it feels like static noise. Become so emotionally free that you no longer feel the urge to chase or convince. The moment you shift from longing to becoming, you stop attracting fragments and start calling in wholeness. The kind of love that meets you where you are because it's already aligned with who you've become. And in that space, two souls meet not out of need, but from overflow. And nothing in the world can keep them apart. If this message has stirred something within you, declare your intention by commenting, "I choose to become the love I seek." Let your words be a mirror of your inner work and a signal to the universe that you're ready to align with what truly matches your soul. When the energy of two souls truly aligns, it transcends logic, time, and even separation. As Carl Jung reminded us, synchronicity is not just coincidence. It's a meaningful connection, orchestrated by something far greater than chance. If this message stirred something within you, trust that your soul recognizes its truth. If you found value in today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming insights into soul connections, spiritual growth, and deep inner truth. Thank you for being part of this journey. Your energy matters here,